Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing back to the channel for the first time in a very long time, Theo Fisher. We're almost 30 minutes late because we've actually been having a lovely catch-up. How are you doing today, Theo?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, we were talking. When was the last time we saw each other? 3-4 years ago? Something like that.
I think we spoke about. I think it's The Power of the Dog. Whenever that screened at London Film Festival,
Whenever
there might have been a video after maybe or something, but definitely seeing you, I think, was then. Or
yeah,
June. That might have been even before
maybe.
June.
June was
Definitely
before.
Yeah, June before.
Either way, we're old. I think that's
We've hit the age.
Yeah,
we're older, wiser. We'll find out. But
maybe.
We are here to discuss Alien Earth. I guess we have to say the first season has officially finished airing as of Tuesday night America or Wednesday morning here in the UK, on FX in America, Disney Plus here in the United Kingdom. And we're going to be talking about the season with a bit of a fun spoiler discussion, talking about it collectively rather so than like episode by episodes, discussing characters, aliens, creatures, deaths, all that sort of stuff. We've got a schedule, and I already feel like I might have bypassed some of it. But people watching at home, as this is a spoiler discussion, I do want to hear your thoughts on Alien Earth, whether they're positive, negative. For a bit of context, I didn't even say this to you before we were chatting. I've seen nothing but positivity for the last 5 weeks online. And then after the finale's gone up, I've seen a lot of random accounts who I haven't seen at all suddenly going everywhere talking about the show. So I'm really curious to know how people thought of the season and the finale itself. If they're excited for a potential second season, because they're calling it the first season. Noah Hawley spoke about a second season, but nothing has been made official as of yet. I really hope there's a second season because it would be a killer to end the show. Not on the way they did, but I'm sure we'll have a discussion about TV formatting these days. It feels like a traditional TV series that it's the end of a season, so there's going to be another season to continue the story, rather than just be a different story in a different season. I'm waffling too much. People comment your thoughts. Theo, over to you, though. I'm not going to tell everyone to tell them what you're up to. Just for the context of this video,
yeah,
I want your thoughts on the Alien franchise, I guess, coming into Alien Earth.
Yeah, I think for me, I've always been a fan of all of them. I always think they're watchable. I don't think any of them are unwatchable. Even the ones that obviously had their issues. Fincher had his issues with Alien 3. I mean, he still hates it to this day, I guess. I rewatched quite a few of them before this came out, just to get a little bit of the Alien juice flowing, I guess. And I like them all. Obviously, Alien Romulus last year, I guess, coming into this being the most recent one, like an enjoyable one. That, like I said it, like when I reviewed this show, like 5 or 6 weeks ago, that for me was a bit redundant. Like, it was fun but redundant. I don't think we needed it. It rehashed quite a lot, and I think that's what quite a lot of the films have done. Prometheus did something a little bit different, and then Ridley went straight to Alien Covenant and almost did Alien, and it was a strange sort of step backwards, I thought, which is like the complete opposite of this show, which I mean, I absolutely love. When I reviewed it, I gave it 5 stars. I think Noah Hawley, the one thing he's absolutely magic at is being able to take a world. I mean, he did the same thing with Fargo, which was obviously an existing IP anyway, and like taking a world and just building off tiny little bits that you may not have noticed before, or just bits of the story. He just seems to like view it differently, which is cool. It's cool to see and cool to watch as well.
So I've seen Fargo season 1, and I loved it from memory. Billy Bob Thornton and Matt Freeman. I remember loving that. I'm don't mind saying this. I've never seen the original film, and
really?
This gets weirder. I didn't see the second or third season. I know the third one was Ewan McGregor playing
twins.
Second one had Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons, which is how they also got together.
I think that's how they met.
Yeah, it was. And I've for reasons unknown, I've not seen the film and I've not followed up. Yet I'd seen that first season and remember being blown away by it. I think it was one of them shows that everyone was talking about. And
it was Channel 4 for us back in the day when we were kids.
Oh, was it?
Wasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I watched it online, sorry. But it's I want to say that, God, maybe when was that, like 2013, 14?
Yeah, that must have been like early. Yeah, it must have been just after 2010.
Yeah, so when I saw no,
because I mean, yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, it's good. It's just because I hadn't seen much from him until this show came out, and with this show, I'm kind of in an interesting vein with you with Romulus and this, that I loved Romulus last year, even the weird sort of final 20, which did go on a bit. But as you said, it did rehash Alien. And I think the Alien franchise, for me, is a really fascinating one where I'm not going to say it's in the same vein as Terminator. It's far better than Terminator now. But for years, you had everyone being like, this is the real Alien 3, because they made the great 1 and 2, and no one could really follow it up from a film perspective. Even I don't mind Prometheus, but it's not an Alien film. And Ridley Scott, I remember saying it before it came out, which made it easier for me to watch it at the time, because they did make out to everyone it's the Alien prequel origin film, and it really wasn't. I've still not seen Covenant, which I have to add. I've not seen. I need to fix that one day. But Romulus, I loved, mainly with Cade Spaney, David Johnson, a great young cast. So when Alien Earth comes around this year, I'm sort of sat there like, okay, but we just had a great Alien thing. And obviously we had Isolation, the game about 10 years ago, which was excellent as well. So the Alien franchise is really on the up. I guess you could say Predator 2 as well. Definitely a conversation to be had somewhere one day about the fact that Disney's acquisition of Fox, they've actually handled their pre-existing IPs a lot better than people probably would have thought they would have done. But heading into Alien Earth, I didn't really have, not any feelings on it. I didn't see a trailer. I wanted to go into it blind, and I was going to wait for the whole season to be done to do an Alien series, basically. And then I think you were one of the first people I saw. I read your review. You'd seen the first, I'm getting mixed up, Peacemaker, 6 episodes.
Yeah.
6 episodes had gone out to press. Everyone was raving. Then the episodes aired. Everyone was raving. I was like, okay, I'm in. Popped on Neil's channel, friend of that, to talk about Peacemaker and Alien together, which them two shows running concurrently is very interesting. I'm just going to say that. But Alien Earth sort of blown me away in a good way, heading into it and giving my initial thoughts on the series. I mean, we talk about the series itself. The story of this, based off IMDb, is when a mysterious space vessel crash lands on Earth, a young woman and a ragtag group of tactical soldiers make a fatal discovery that puts them face to face with the planet's greatest threat. That sounds like what an Alien TV series should be. But I'm going to say this series, for me now, I'm curious in your thoughts. This feels like traditional science fiction more so than alien horror. And I think this is the best thing the show could have ever done to exist within that universe, functioning as an alien series, but actually alien being the key word, not xenomorph, and it asking the questions of humanity, other species, what it is to be human. There's far more going on here than I ever anticipated.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what Noah Hawley does well, right? I mean, exactly what he did with Fargo. He just plastered that all over Alien, really. Like you say, I mean, it's not called Xenomorph, it's called Alien. Obviously, everyone's going to think of the Xenomorph, but I don't think anyone that I've spoken to that's seen the show, no one talks about the Xenomorph because everyone's talking about the other ones. Like, I mean, obviously we'll jump into them in a bit anyway, but like the octo-eyed little octopus, that's the one that everyone keeps coming back to. Everyone keeps talking about. My girlfriend wants one, that says more about her, I think, than anyone else. But it's for me. I mean, I said it in my review, but I think if we go just pick one of the episodes out, episode 5, for an example, I know you just said in terms of the Alien franchise, everyone views Alien Romulus as Alien 3 because the others never really hit the mark. Like, I think it's episode 5 of this show is the 3rd best Alien film that we've had.
Agreed. Agreed. I agree massively with that. And I'm going to use that episode actually as a segue to talk about my initial thoughts when I was watching it for the first time. I actually really want to know yours of this. When I started with the show and you start on the ship, and I was sat there like, oh, are we just going to get like an elongated alien film, right? And then when the Alien Earth intro is happening, I think you're getting the deaths of all the characters, and then it's crashing to Earth. I'm like, oh, like we're missing the normal alien things. Brilliant, sold.
Yeah, that's genius as well. The intro is genius, yeah.
And so then you never anticipate going back to that moment. So when you get to episode 5, you are just sat there like, oh my words, like we're going to get this all what happened. And what happened's hilarious because it wasn't a xenomorph going around killing people. It was everything going around killing people, as well as the silly humans themselves, which I just loved. And I've got a really quick comment I'm going to bring my son in the chat, but he wants to start by saying that overall he enjoyed it, but he will not argue against people calling it nonsensical. That's very fair. I don't disagree with that at all, if I'm honest. There's a lot of nonsense in this.
Yeah, there has to be an element. I mean, there's always going to be an element of nonsense. We're dealing with, obviously, a giant alien, an eye with legs, giant flies, vampire mites, or whatever they were. And I mean, granted, the humans often get themselves into silly situations. I mean, there's almost a slapstick nature, I think, episode 5, when obviously lots of the stuff comes down because of I can't remember the character's name, but who drinks out of the bottle.
Everything starts from that.
Carries on for about 15 minutes, doesn't it? And like there is comedy in that, so I can see the nonsense in it as well.
It's a fair point. I mean, kind of. I know it's me jumping in. We're going to try and structure this talk about some of the characters, but within the characters, we'll get story arcs, plot discussion, plot points. I'm going to try and not keep on tracking the wrong way. I think it's key that we talk about the character of Wendy as the lead of the series, played by Sydney Chandler. Must be the first person whose dad's been in like 2 different King Kong series, and now she's fighting aliens. That family's got it going well. She's incredible in the show. I haven't seen her in anything before. I don't know her experience as such, whether I'm sure she's been in a few different things, but this will be seen, I guess, as her big breakthrough role. But where I kind of sit with her character is going back to the roots of sci-fi question. The fact that the protagonist of the show is essentially a child that was dying of cancer, transferring their consciousness into an android to live their life. That's like a heavy, intense science fiction, humanity, morality discussion that you'd hear everywhere. But when you then put that in an alien series, and it's actually a tech war, and the opening of the whole series is the text on the screen about, there's 3 ways to live: cyborgs or androids or hybrids. What they do with the grand structure, and particularly I think No Hoist should be praised beyond belief for this, is make the alien stuff a backdrop. That there is already an ongoing series in play, and it is about these children, the Lost Boys, which I love. Out of context, I'd seen about the Peter Pan meme when the show came out. And no, not Peter Pan, Ice Age, when there was like the show loves its crossfades, basically.
Yeah, the crossfades with Sid is generational, yeah.
That was like on my, what on earth is this show? I must see it now. So I'm glad that I saw it a few days after and was like, hey, it worked. But I loved the concept of the Lost Boys in this. By taking innocent children, putting them in adult bodies, you get not only great performances out of actors, especially young actors too, it's worth adding, but it sets a completely different dynamic that how are these children going to deal with the situation with aliens? And I think what that does for the whole show is superb.
Oh yeah, I think it's great. And I think exactly like what you're saying there about how Noah Hawley's done it. I think he is good at injecting whimsy into stuff that's obviously quite serious. I mean, he did it with obviously all those seasons of Fargo's. He's done it now, and I think when you take we've seen what we've seen from all the Alien films, right? We've seen adults deal with the alien 100 times. We've seen adults versus the xenomorph for about 50 years. So having something a slightly bit different is a good way for us to sort of find a way into the story, because obviously again it's like telling it long form over 8 hours is going to be more of a challenge than obviously what we've seen before, which is why when the first episode starts, like you say, we're on the ship and you're thinking surely we're not doing this again, but then he does that brilliant thing with the intros that carries on throughout every episode where the recaps are done in quite a clever way, which sets the show up nicely, I think. And I think that first episode sets the show up nicely as well. I think you really get a good sense of all the characters straight away, which is great. And obviously, I mean, we'll talk about how that goes at the end later, but I think there's a really nice there's a nice symmetry to the whole like Alien series that I want to talk about right at the end that we get to, which is quite cool.
Yeah, you're right. The first episode does a lot. I think even looking at his 8-episode structure as well, the fact that the xenomorph is caught within, well, first plot twist, they kill a xenomorph within 3 episodes, 4 episodes, and I was sat there like, oh, like again, something else is going to go on here. So I feel it sort of. I hate using the words. The Last Jedi's ruined it. It's not the film. The people that talk about it. Subverted expectations has become one of the words I just hate anyone bringing up ever, because it's not subverting your expectations. But as a viewer that's familiar with the franchise, you expect someone to get, you expect the space crew to get killed off. You expect the alien to be there. You expect there to be a lone woman survivor. You expect, as an audience member in a series, a xenomorph to carry on. So when you kill the crew off screen before it's really got going, when you then crash land it onto Earth, you've got a cyborg, not a traditional female protagonist on that ship. You've then got the dead xenomorph, and I'm jumping ahead. And then it then becomes a case, so there is going to be a xenomorph. How's that going to get born? How is that going to play into it? And it challenges, I think, the stereotypical conventions of what makes an alien film, I guess in this case, a series, work. And I think it should be commended for that. And I think if you lose the characters, the protagonists of these, with these children as well, it just adds a different time, because there's already an ongoing story. You've got Weyland-Yutani having a tech war with the Prodigy Corp, they're called, and they're looking to sort of see who's going to get the biggest advancement on human technology. But at the end of the day, Weyland-Yutani, they still just want the alien. They don't care about anything else. And you get some really cool, I call it, not like political sequences, because it's not like Andor in that respect, but some of the best writing is the corporation sides coming at each other once again. And I just think they're asking the right questions that I think not enough modern day sci-fi does. I think we've been, I'm not going to say we've been like conditioned with what we watch, but science fiction TV these days just tends to be, without it being a massive generalization, a traditional Star Wars Marvel show, which half of the time has been, hey, this was a film concept. Now we've extended it to a 6-episode miniseries for your pleasure. An Alien, you would understand why people think that, because it's the first Alien TV show. But they've really gone against that stereotype and story with it. And even talking about Joe, played by Alex Lorth, obviously I'm going to bring Andor again. Nemec from Andor, legend. His arc being the brother of one of the children that died, who believes that child has died. Now he's got this alien android saying it's his sister, and again, they're challenging the conventions and asking the question of morality. Like, he's sat like, no, my sister's dead, she's buried. I love what they do with their relationship, because I don't think the show doesn't just one day they shake hands and say, right, you're my sister, you're my brother. Even through to the finale, you're still being challenged as a viewer. Do the pair think they're siblings or not? Like, it is asking that question still. Is she who she was originally, or is this someone else? What do you make of their relationship? It's really hard to talk about it out loud, and I've started doing it.
Yeah, it is tough, and I see exactly what you mean. And I think if we just go, I guess, straight into spoilers of how it goes from start to end, obviously we don't really get too much of their inner workings of their relationship in those first few episodes, because it's basically a rescue mission, isn't it? For 2.5 episodes, maybe 3 episodes if you're nitpicking. And then by the time we get to that end, I think what you're saying is absolutely right. I think what's great is that when we get to the end, and especially that slight turn at the end of the penultimate episode, and even into the finale, we're not entirely sure how Sydney Chandler's character is going to react to that. Like, and how, like, is she going to leave him behind? Is he going to be part of whatever plan she has and whatever rule she has? And I think, and I think when you take that relationship and then you go further and you look at Wendy's relationship with the xenomorph as well, which is almost, she's having the relationship with the xenomorph that she wants with her brother, arguably, which is very open. Like, I've seen a lot of chats since the finale ended that people aren't happy that the xenomorph's acting like a pet. And like, I don't actually think it's acting as a pet. I think it's acting as a friend. I think they're talking to each other. I don't think she's controlling the xenomorph. I think the xenomorph's doing those things because she can speak to it.
I'm with you on that. I never thought the parallel of her to the xenomorph with him. That's really interesting, especially when that xenomorph's born through his lung, right? Which was a wild scene. Getting the actual,
again, that's the actual, like the visual. Obviously, we'll speak about it, but the visuals are so like every penny is on the screen, which is obviously what Noah Hawley's famous for. I just jumping back on what you just said about talking about how he takes like small things that maybe is from the franchise from years ago, like and bringing them into now. Obviously, Weyland-Yutani's been all the way through, but it's never really been explored. And like going into the political side of it and being able to like flesh it out with those 3 extra companies and exactly who's fighting who, and have those scenes that like give everything a bit of gravitas. Like that's his like MO. That's what he's good at. I know. Obviously, you've not seen the film of Fargo, but the entire thing is actually born out of one scene in Fargo. Like the series is born out of one scene. That's how he birthed it. He was like, oh, like what actually happened to the briefcase that was buried in the film? And that's how he ended up weaving through and ended up obviously building the story based around Billy Bob and Martin Freeman. I think he's done exactly the same thing here. Just an interesting take. And he's just an interesting voice, I guess.
Yeah. No, I like that. I kind of really want to watch Fargo now. That's really bad. Not sounds bad. It sounds good. But I want to watch There Will Be Blood tonight. Yeah, the stuff with Joe and his sister. I want to talk about it at the end as well. The alien that. Okay, so there's a funny jokes about the final shots, like the alien being like bringing your dad to work day. That made me laugh. I'm not going to lie. But again, the relationship with it, I don't think it was meant to be a pet. I'm the same as you. Like, it's a connection that's there, and because they can communicate.
It could have been so silly, couldn't it? Like,
yeah, and there are times when it probably was. Like you see about writers and directors that talk about when they're writing down concepts or things that don't work. Something like the xenomorph could go wrong in this, and maybe people think about it, because I'm just going to bring a comment by Sin who mentioned that he put nonsensical in the sense that he gives shows a now come on break. I actually really, I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, actually, I like that a lot.
I like that. That is one of those, right? That I feel like this would be make or break for a lot of people. That if you said to some random on the street, there's an alien series, there's going to be an android character who's going to be able to communicate with the alien and train it, you'd be like, it's a bit much. But when you watch it in the context of the show, it's built up to that. There's an understanding there, and there's explanations to it. And I like that. I like that it is going into that. I've just got to bring another one, sorry, not to cut myself off.
It feels earned, I think.
To the interesting to hear the UK viewership take on it, binged American reaction so far. I'll be totally honest. I've, outside of Twitter, which these days is quite something, I've not seen an awful lot. I've read a few friends' reviews. I've not seen much on the finale. Neil, who I spoke on his podcast about, he's in Budapest. He hasn't even seen the finale yet, so he's got to wait till he gets back. I think tomorrow. I've really not spoke to many people outside of you, and we didn't even really talk about this before we hit live either, which is interesting. So it's one of the. Sorry if I caught myself off guard there. Going back to the relationship of Joe and Wendy, what do you think with regards to them moving forward? Like, without jumping the gun at the second season, did you feel, at least by a first season, like you're okay, the storyline, it's working for you, something's not quite there? Like, how was it functional for you?
It's not complete. I would say that. I think people are well within their rights to say it's not complete, but I think the reason it's not complete is because we've hit quite a nice we've hit quite a nice like sounding off point for season 1. But I was saying to you before we started, like, I'm a big believer that the finale of a show doesn't have to be its best episode. It never has. It barely is. Like, all it has to. I mean, Noah Hawley did exactly the same with Fargo. Like, I don't know if you can remember the season 1 finale of Fargo, but that's just a complete wrap up, sort of subtle come down to everything else that happens. And yeah, I think going back to their relationship as well. As we move forward, I think Joe's not. Like, I don't think he's that happy with where Wendy is, I think he's scared. He's now scared of her. And I think that sort of brings us back to the overall like point on the, I guess, hybrids or synths that we were going to talk about at the start, which is I guess an overarching thing of the whole Alien franchise in all of the films is that the synths are inherently scary. The humans are always scared of them, no matter what. I mean, you go back to even Prometheus and Covenant. Fassbender is chilling. Like he's not a nice guy. So like to sort of have these characters viewed through the eyes of kids, I guess from our point of view, for 7-8 episodes, and like be okay with them. They do, some of them do stupid, horrendous things like killing poor Arthur, but like we sort of forgive them for that. And then obviously Wendy does that heel switch in the finale where it's like, oh wait, no, they are like super strong, and like they can overpower Boy Cavalier if they choose to. They just haven't chosen to yet.
I think you've sort of summarised there as well that even with I forgot who made Atom, played by Ade Edmondson, British comedy legend, which really surprised me when I saw Ade Edmondson was in Ade, I was like, wow. I loved that. I know it's jumping far ahead, but the whole thing that they could have really done this at any point, at any of their time, whether they worked out or not, or just hadn't chose to do so. And that brings us into a great conversation about Boy Cavalier, played by Samuel Blanken, who I haven't seen in anything before. I know that he began, I think he was the first Scorpius Malfoy at Harry Potter and the Cursed Child in London, so he has a theatre background. Loved him in the show. Do you know what I'm going to say? I'm not going to say he's as evil as this guy. This is one of the best Joffrey type performances we've had in a long time. You know, when you just absolutely hate them on screen and you love how much you hate them as well. He has it all. The world's youngest ever trillionaire, and the arrogance and the stupidity, the immaturity that is at the start you do think, wow, this kid's a genius that he's created this new technology. But then as the show develops, the season develops, the episodes progress, you realize that actually he's not stupid, but his downfall is his arrogance, because everything's gone right for him. He's not used to things not going so well. And even jumping to episode 5, the ship crashing ultimately is part of his project and by his design. He wanted that infiltration to happen. That was always his plan. And you get like a double face heel turn there where suddenly you're sort of with Weyland-Yutani a little bit, which you never normally are in this sort of show. I mean, the logic is like any of the corps, but it's great at having those ideas. And I sat there for weeks thinking, oh man, the way that sheep stares at him, he's going to get the most horrible death. And he's still alive. Strung up like Jesus Christ, waiting for a xenomorph. Loved what they do with him, and even finding out a little bit more depth about him as we got to the finale, that they imply he killed his own father to take control of the company at a very young age. Very sinister. It's also not unsurprising, but I think he works so well as an antagonist for all of them. Everyone hates him, whether it's one of the Lost Boys, whether it's this, even Kurth at one point, I think doesn't like him. Even Atom gets a bit, I think, pissed off. I'm curious, that's the android he built to take over from his dad. That's what I sort of wondered. I know that doesn't need to be explained as such, but what did you think of him as a character and a villain, I guess?
Yeah, I absolutely loved him. Like you say, he is detestable, but he's also like captivating to watch. I mean, also, I mean, he has the easiest wardrobe of anyone in there. He just wears dressing gowns the whole time. He's living the absolute dream. I think as it goes on, obviously obviously everyone you do think he's going to die. You obviously do think that the eye is going to come out and go into him, and like what happens then? Like who's in control and what happens then? But you do detest him so much that even when we get right to the very end, and he has that like wry smile on his face, and I think the reason he has that is like the reason the whole thing has happened, which is, I guess this could be a point for like the wider world as well, not just this show, but like I think when billionaires or trillionaires get bored, bad things can happen. And I think that might be the point. Like he says that thing, I can't remember, it's like right at the start of the show or a couple of episodes in, where he says he's got no one to talk to. He's so bored. And by the end, all he wants to do is talk to the eye, basically, doesn't he? Or find a host for him, which obviously he tries to do. And yeah, I as much as you hate him, I would have been sad to see him die. If if we're going to get a season 2, I'd like to see him in it and see where he goes, because I think from his point of view, he's like, I mean, he wanted the monster so bad, he's now arguably created one in Wendy. Like, who knows what happens there?
I hadn't even thought of that. That's a great one. I'm just going to quickly bring up Combat Sin. This talk about the final episodes not being the best. It was House of Dragon season 1 was intense as could be. That's fair enough. I'm doing a spoiler. See,
yeah,
House of Dragon is a very fair point, but then I would not counter because I'm not disagreeing either. I'm with you through that most of the time Fly Down is good. Game of Thrones, Ben, was the best episode almost every time it was episode 9 of whatever season it was, with 10 setting up what's to come. But House of Dragon's a good one, and obviously then they decided not to do the battle. They got it in season 2, which will be the first episode of season 3, which, God, we'll be talking about that in just under a year's time, probably. Can't wait for that. That's going to be
finished filming, I think, haven't they? So
October, I heard. I didn't tell that. I didn't say live on YouTube, did I? No. Right. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Boy Cavalier, I'm with you. Keep him alive. As much as I want to see him die, there is just no way he'd survive the events of the series into its completion, is probably the better term. And even the scene with him with the Yutani CEO, just how awful
that felt like it was cut straight out of Andor, didn't it? Like,
yeah, like, you know what you just said about there's nothing more dangerous than billionaires being bored. They're sat there like, do you want 20 billion, 50 billion? Oh, 50 billion and my deepest concerns, and so sorry if you're lost. Like, it was great. And to bring in the science fiction side, I think just to have an absolute weirdo in the middle. Like, I've seen a lot of people comparing this show, because I know there's a Blade Runner show in development at Amazon. A lot of people saying this is more like Blade Runner than it is Alien. I'm just sat there like, well, they're both Ridley Scott created things, but at the same time, I don't see an awful lot of Blade Runner in this show either. I think there's some interesting cyborg things, but Blade Runner's thematics are similar to this is thematics, but it doesn't mean they're similar shows at all. It means that there are just some crossovers there, and I think that's more the genre of science fiction rather than these two specifically. You can look at a film like Her, which, you know, is about humans getting to relationships with a robot, essentially an app, an AI. So I sort of disagree with the Blade Runner stuff, but those sequences, and as we said, Weyland, Yutani's around, but you don't need them developed as such. But why did they always want these aliens? Why did they always want the xenomorphs? I know that Prometheus took it on a literal level with the weird old Guy Pearce stuff that went on. I don't even know if AVP counts anymore. I feel at one point Lance Henriksen was meant to be playing someone high up from memory. I've not seen it in years, but I've never needed that much company stuff. But I just love the idea of, maybe it's because I've seen Succession, and you're a big Succession fan as well. Maybe it's because I've had a show that for years where it's just company politics with one another, and it does lead to some of the best writing when it's done well. And I think this delivered with that on that front. And I think that's where Boy Cavalier's got it great, that we've got his situation with the aliens, as you said. He wants the aliens. He is bored. And as you said, there's nothing more dangerous than bored billionaires. Then you've got him in his company politics, where he's just clearly both trying to outdo each other. I think there's more to come. Someone's put a comment saying that Boy Cavalier dies in season 2. It'd be strange, especially if they run a fifth of the world. 5 corporations seem a bit undercooked. I hadn't even thought of that. There's absolutely more they could bring into the fold if they wanted to. And even when he almost gets killed, well, when the alien sprints and takes out his guards right at the end of the finale, and I'm jumping ahead, the fact he isn't scared, his reaction was, oh, I think I pissed myself a little bit. You know, traditionally, that sort of spoiled CEO type billionaire, they'd be screaming, crying, begging for forgiveness, wouldn't they? But the fact he isn't, he'd probably welcome it from something like that, which who knows what the future has. But anything more you want to say on him before we talk about a sort of secondary subplot, which I think's been a lot of discussion too?
I don't think so. I would just say when you have someone that developed, I think getting rid of them straight away can be a mistake, especially like that point just there on the corporations or the world of corporations being slightly undercooked. I think that's by design. I think that's not overstuff the show, I guess. with a view that I'd imagine Noah Hawley had from the start of this being more than a one-season show, I'd have thought.
Yeah, and I think I'm with you, the more than one season that certainly in the last few weeks, there's been far more discussion on the second season. There's been a lot of discussion on, I think Noah Hawley spoke about it as well. It doesn't feel like the sort of show where people have sat there saying, give it a second season, as in, you know, Acolyte's a terrible example, but you know how they waited till after the show came out to be like, guys, we need a second season, help us. Whereas Alien's been the sort of opposite of, yeah, we're talking about it, we're waiting on it. And it's that sort of quiet confidence that I'm assuming Disney would do a second season with how this has gone down with fans, critics, which I know a lot of people don't like them. They do have sway in these sorts of decisions. They'll be looking at shows like Andor, where the show got more popular as it went on. More and more people started joining in. They'll be looking at Noah Hawley, as we've mentioned. His already the work he's done before this. Thinking what's they've done with Fargo. Okay, Fargo's had very successful multiple seasons. So I know I feel like we've gone the wrong way talking about a potential second season, but it feels like inevitability, and the way the finale felt like bang on. This is a season one ending. We've got the eye in the corpse, which is going to be horrific when that appears in the future. They can't end it now, and I don't think they will.
Yeah, I think just on a TV politics point, obviously FX is Hulu, and Hulu is being shut down and rolled into Disney Plus in America, so that's probably delaying any announcement on any seasons, I'd guess. But I'd be stunned if Disney let Noah Hawley walk away. I mean, if he wants to make the second season, I guess they'll green light it in order to keep him for other things, I'd guess. Yeah,
and I think as well, with the Alien franchise, it seems the healthiest it's ever been, if I'm honest. I know everyone wants a second Alien game, but they're obviously going to be doing a sequel film. There's always talk of an AVP film. We've got a very successful Predator potential coming out soon.
That will definitely happen. I think obviously we know that Weyland-Yutani has a presence in Dan Trachtenberg's new one, don't we? So I think they're probably slowly building up to that. And I wouldn't say no.
I would. It's a great concept if you can get it right. I think get the right directions, the right producers, the right people around it, it'll work. And like this, you can have a successful series on the side as well as a successful film series happening. It can be done. It's just James Gunn's proven that, if I'm honest, of DC, which is great because it's concurrently happening at the same time. Sorry to go off point. Let's talk about some. I've basically done with the last bits now. I want to talk about Kirsch and Morrow. I know the two different characters. Kirsch played by Timothy Oliphant, Morrow by Babu Sise. Probably got more to say on Morrow, but I loved the pair of these two whenever they met each other. There was, I don't want to say great chemistry. Timothy Oliphant nailed playing an android. And this is really weird to say on camera. When you get actors who just in real life have natural charisma, where they are like the beacon in that room that you'd want to go out for a drink with on a night out. Timothy Oliphant's one of those. He comes into a show like The Mandalorian, he takes it for his own. He comes up in something like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He pops up in so many different things. And then you have him playing an android, calculated, quiet, switched on. Kind of the adolescent father to the Lost Boys, which I loved as well, because he cares for them beyond his programming, it feels and seems like, at least. I thought putting him in that role is one of the bravest things they did in the show. And I think it's one of the best things in the show, I'm going to add too. It's so against his type of performance that it makes the show work that much better. And whilst one of my big criticisms is the fight in the finale with them two, it still leaves me excited knowing there's going to be maybe more scenes with them together discussing it, because there was almost like a mutual respect between them, even though they both hated each other. I don't know. Is that me sounding weird, or did you get those vibes as well? Especially in the standoffs. Yeah.
I think they are like the antithesis of each other, aren't they? That's supposed to be the point. And to have Timothy Oliphant play so against type, he's so cold. He's almost just watchful over the whole thing. Like the subplot with Mara, he knows what's going on the entire time, but it doesn't mean he's going to win. You know, I guess that's what we come to learn about all the synths in the Alien franchise completely. I would agree on that finale, actually, just on the fight. I think I actually think them just having a conversation might have been a little bit more powerful than them fight. But I mean, I guess because there's such a nice like counterbalance between the two of them and how they act. You know, one of them is still a human technically, who is obviously turned into a cyborg, but he still has that rage that Timothy Oliphant doesn't have, and that's what creates quite a nice some good scenes between the two. I think I think Timothy Oliphant's like unbelievable. I think he's up there with Fassbender levels of creepy synth, to be honest. But he still has that edge to him. I think we're talking about Boy Cavalier earlier, and you were saying how Kirsch gets annoyed with him, and like there's that moment in, it was so long ago, I think it was episode 3 or 4, when they first get all of the eggs and they have them in the lab, and Timothy he lets Boy Cavalier walk towards the egg but stops him at the last second and sends him out, and it's almost like he wants to do that, but he knows that that's not the end game.
It's like he sees him as a test subject as well. Like, it doesn't matter that he's the owner. If he can get close enough, is this going to confirm what I think about these things? And I loved that as well. And even when I forgot the name of the lost boy that died, who has the really gruesome death with the fly.
Isaac, I think.
Isaac, he feels like the briefest of sympathy, but then immediately, because he's programmed, he's like, I made a mistake. Whereas then it's the others that are the ones that are devastated. And it's great to see a creature in, I know we'll talk about him a little bit later, but it's great to see a creature in like the inner world that can go for synths and not just humans. Actually adds a really fun dynamic to it. But yeah, I'm going to speak about Kirsch. Morrow, though, Babu say, as you said, he's a bit of a human. He's almost a antagonist turned protagonist, right? That when you get to, okay, what he did to the old crew was kind of devastating, that, he took command of the crew, but he was following his programming, but ultimately his mission, he knew, was to get the specimens and get to Earth, knowing it would probably be himself. I really like him in this. I've not seen actually anything else, but I thought he gave a very chilling performance in, I don't want to say in a way I've not seen anything, because we haven't really seen cyborgs, right, in this respective IP. How do you bring them in and not make them carbon copy of synths? In a show you're going to do hybrids, how do you make them not the carbon copy of a hybrid as well? It's actually a very difficult avenue to explore. So the whole left arm that merges into this weapon thing, him on the hunt for the alien, I loved, for the xenomorph, sorry. I loved that angle at the start. I loved where it goes, and in a non-psychotic way, even sort of, threatening that child's mother as torture. He knows it's a kid. He knows it's politics and sort of redemption as such. But when you get to the ending and he just tells the kid, listen, just so you know for sure your mom's fine. He isn't trying to plead to get away with it. He actually just wants to tell the kids, I know I've lost today, but just so you know, she's okay. There is a bit of humanity in him, the very few bits that are left of him. And I'd like this concept that he is just ungodly working for the Yutani Corp, and that is his objective and will be his objective.
Yeah, and I can see as we move into a season 2, there being a bit more layers to him, and especially, I guess the one thing is we didn't really see him talk to that many characters. We saw him going about his business, didn't we? That was the whole point of the show, and that's why I think that's also probably where the crossover to Blade Runner has come for a few people, because that's he's the closest to that world, I guess, in this world. But I think what he has that I guess sets him aside a little bit is he's following orders, but he's still quite rageful with it as well. he doesn't really, I guess, a lot of the time take prisoners, but I think as we move into I guess talk about season 2, if we moved into a season 2, having more scenes of him finding out his own motivations, I guess, rather than the Weyland-Yutani motivations, and then also seeing him, if they're all still alive, I guess, talking to Boy Cavalier or talking to Kirsch and maybe finding common ground. I think that would add a nice little bit of weight to a second season.
I agree. I think Kerr should be the one that there'd be, as you said, there'd be something to develop between them.
Yeah, I can see them as a little straight double act.
It's like it's like a traditional action trope, but when it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's that sort of. I could see those two being paired up if they had to, and I think they would do it if they had to and have that sort of bond. And I think that's again one of the great things of the season is it set up so many threads and developed so many things, and actually a short amount of time than you think, because whilst it is an episode season, okay, you got one episode that's irrespectively pretty much none of these characters, episode 5, bar obviously 1. You've got a sort of double opening pilot. There's so many other characters set up and developed, ready to continue developing them. No one feels like their story has been told in full. And I think if we very quickly talk about the Lost Boys as well, I know obviously the core of it sits with Wendy, but a couple of the others got a bit of development. A few of them didn't. You've got the New Zealand one, I forgot her name. She wants to be the favourite. That's almost like she wants to be the favourite. That's a goal. You've got, I think she's called Curly, who's got clearly a traumatic past somewhere that, then you're dealing the morality of, do you wipe a memory off something because it's a robot, even though it was a person? There's so many great questions answering off those. I still think there's a bit more development because, as you said, Wendy's scary by the end of it. And there's probably nothing more terrifying putting, I guess this comparison is not more the Lost Boys, this is more Lord of the Flies, but putting a bunch of kids on an island for survival, that's not going to go well. And that's where the power play sits for the future of this. I don't think a lot of them got developed, but I like the idea that it wasn't just Wendy. I like that there was more of them. There was a group of them, and they see themselves as siblings, knowing they aren't too, which then is a great way of dealing with the back and forth with Wendy and Joe, because they are siblings. But then she's now starting to veer more towards her hybrid siblings, the group of them. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I see exactly what you mean. Like,
this is hard to talk about.
There's a lot to pack in, isn't there? I think that's the point. Yeah. And you can't service everyone, but I think they did a good job of that. I think from episode 6 onwards, I guess, when you get the story with, I think it's Slightly and Smee, and obviously what happens to Arthur as well, and obviously how that unfolds, and how we end up where we end up at the end with Arthur's corpse in the eye. I think they have quite a lot of, they get development, but still, like, you want to see more. And I guess, like, I think the point, I guess the point you're trying to make as well is, by the time we get to a season 2, if time's passed, is Wendy the leader? Because they're kids, maybe they'll all want to be the leader. Like, that's the point. And I guess that's the Lord of the Flies and the Lost Boys of it all, right?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That absolutely. And, oh God, speaking of let's talk. We've mentioned the ice. Let's talk about some aliens. So this is Alien Earth. This isn't Xenomorph Earth. This is Alien Earth. There are 5 core aliens in this, I guess we could say. We've got the Xenomorph, which I'll be really upfront. I've got nothing to talk about in the Xenomorph that we haven't already spoken about, in a nice way, because we've spoken about the connection with Wendy. Although I will add, I love the fact they've gone back to the roots of it being a bloke in a suit rather than just CG. Yes, it's very obvious.
Wearing gazelles as well. Incredible.
Yeah. I saw that behind the scenes photo and I sat there. Adidas should be buying that off Disney, that image, and putting it as a poster campaign. Like, it absolutely should be. That you could picture now, can't you, like the actual branded logos, and like do it. There's been iconic.
Turn into a little Xenomorph. That would be great, to be fair.
We've got a few more. We've got the Fly, which I very briefly spoke about. So the Fly creature festers on metals, basically non-organic materials, which obviously leads to the death of one of the Lost Boys. In the most horrific circumstance of, I think I read when Noah Hawley spoke about, they digest their food outside their body.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit like a Star Wars chat and be like, let's discuss every creature. I kind of want to, but your thoughts very briefly? It's like playing top trumps.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? I mean, you could just like
ranking what's the worst way to die.
Boil it down to this, I guess. Like, anyone that's watching can do the same, which is which creature would you least like to be killed by? because I actually think I would most like to be killed by the xenomorph. I think the rest of them are horrendous. Like, I don't want that.
I'm with
I
you.
don't want the eye taking my eye out. That's horrible. And the giant fly was a tough way to go. I think it was diluted by the fact that obviously it's still, I guess, a child in a synth's body, but like there's no blood. It's hybrid blood, isn't it?
That still creeps me out.
Yeah, it's still creepy. And then even I don't know if we see them after.
No,
I don't think we see them after the first episode, but the vampire mites that obviously just drained all the blood. Like that's a tough way to go.
They're disgusting because they get so big as well. Like the way those bodies, and I love that episode 5 did that where it put this is how these people died, and then we're going to get there, and yeah, the blood ticks is gross. That would be a slow and painful death. You've got the orchid, which was unveiled to us in the finale, which
of course,
kind of like the cross between Batman and a Venus flytrap. Feasting on organic matter because it doesn't. So I did see something on Reddit, and it was about the orchid, and it's basically people saying that whenever the hybrids went near it, it would like sort of like go near them, but it wouldn't do anything because it knew like it can't feast on it because they're not organic.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even put to that, and that was like a big revelation. It was going to be, what is this? This was the last alien. What is its moment going to be? And it just sounded brutal how they killed that person. It wasn't just the screaming; it's like the noises, the body, and gross. And then we've got everyone's favorite, which is the eye. What I've never seen. How do I even say this? It's become like an icon online in the space of like 6 weeks. The blooded sheep. The fact it did a cat in like the first episode and no one batted an eyelid. Those horrible, gooey, like the way it like grips onto people's lists. I thought Joe was going to die. I spent so many episodes wondering which human is going to have, because it was always going to be attached to someone by the end of the season, wasn't it? Like, absolutely had to be. And you mentioned Boy Clavy. That's who I kind of thought too. Like, the most obvious answer would have been, you think it'd be him. Maybe you thought Atom because it's Boy Cavalier's like his number 2, but obviously it wasn't. It then ends up being the corpse, which I think is not just disgusting, but it's kind of fascinating that there's a conscious story decision to put the eye on that body right now. And I'm just having imagery in my head of a walking corpse with a burst chest at some point next year, a decaying corpse as well. And I think the scariest thing about the eye is we know nothing about it. We know it's very intelligent, which I also love. The way it just stared as the sheep the whole time, and obviously responsible for the death. It's responsible for his death with the fly. Like, it has everything mapped out around everything. And a discussion line was in episode 5. Some people thought that I was trying to protect the scientist when it tipped something over. I don't think it was. I think that I was trying to get a distraction to go for them.
Yeah, the eye was definitely trying to escape, 100%.
If your thoughts on the eye, it sounds so weird. I never thought 6 weeks ago we're talking about an eye on an episode of this.
Yeah, it's definitely it's the MVP of the season, isn't it? Really. And if you look back on it, it is signposted, I guess, that it's going to be, because he keeps going back to, or Dana Gonzalez, who directed, they keep going back to shots of the corpse. Like, it's got a crab on it. It's just a shot of it on the beach. Like, it happens like over the last 2 episodes, I think it happens 3 or 4 times, and then eventually, obviously, we get the eye. But I guess like the eyes, yeah, it feels strange to be saying talk about the motivations of an eye, but like, I guess we don't know. Like, is his ultimate goal? His ultimate, I don't know if it's he, it could be it, but the eye's ultimate goal is could it be to be Boy Cavalier? So is it now going to go back and help them escape? Like, you don't know. We don't know what his motivations are, which is, again, just like, we keep coming back to the same thing, don't we? But it's just yet another reason why, like, we should be banging on Disney's door for a season 2.
Exactly that. And kind of that being said, very briefly, I want to talk about the soundtrack scored by Jeff Russo. For anyone that collects vinyl, Mutant have just got the rights and they've got pre-orders up already. Sorry, do your take up? Sorry. I love the score. Not as the alien scores are weird for me. They've always been more atmospheric than bombarding, which I think is when they work at their best. So I'll give it credit for that. Not that it stands out. No, I know we've spoken about House of Dragon. It's not a score in that respect, but something that has stood out, which I find insane, the needle drop at the end of every single episode onto a probable very expensive soundtrack, or not soundtrack, a very expensive song to put on an episode of TV. Love it. Don't know why I love it, but it absolutely works. Your thoughts on the score or soundtrack?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be quite jarring, right? I always think I've got the TV too loud at the start, because obviously, you know, when they tick through the previously on, but it's not previously on, when they tick through the intros, like that absolutely that blasts out loud, and I guess the soundtrack's just like a bit of symmetry at the end. I wonder if, I guess if we try to dive into it further, I don't know how much more there is to say. I'd just be waffling on, but like, it's a pretty rock and roll way to end every episode, isn't
it? It's kind of fun, like what songs are going to be this time, because they've got some big bands on there as well. But yeah, let's get into fun. Okay, so we're slowly rounding out. We've spoken a lot about season 2, so I'm going to skip our season 2 chat. That's okay, just because it's safe to say we both think and want and assume there will be. Favorite episode and moment of the whole show from you, if you will, or can.
I think my favorite episode and moment are probably a bit split. I think favorite episode is episode 5. I mean, we spoke about it earlier, but I think it's the third best Alien movie we've had. It's like a slow burning horror masterpiece for me. I think it's great. Favorite moment is actually the fly moment for me. Only because it is signposted, and that I think it's like a 10-15 minute scene, isn't it, of the whole thing of what's going to happen. You know, the eye's going to do something, and the way it just creeps out of the hole and slowly kills poor Isaac is a great scene. Also, I just chuck in as like an honorable mention as well. Seeing the xenomorph in the day for, I think, the first time in the whole franchise is a pretty cool moment as well.
I am episode, same as you, episode 5, one of the best episodes of TV this year. One of, as you said, third best Alien film. Agreed. I think that's the discussion point online, and it's the fact we're revisiting an episode where we know the outcome because we saw it at the start of the whole season, but then actually not only finding out what went wrong, but seeing what all these things are capable of on this ship that are now on Earth. It just adds a different level to the stakes. Favorite scene, not just to copy you, the fly. It's the first, you're at that point of the show, right, where something's going to need to start going wrong. And you're hitting that point at the scene. I think it's episode 6. Is it episode 6 or 7? 6. Without again talking about formalities of TV, you just, okay, something bad's gonna have to happen to kickstart the events of an episode 7 and an 8, a 2-part finale potentially. Who is going to be the sacrificial lamb? And it's the call, like, we're all coming back to the place. Can you go into the lab for us? And it's just that, what's going to go wrong? When's it going to go wrong? Who's it going to be? And I think it made sense. The fact they hid the fly on purpose for quite a while, that they hadn't really showed its growth as such. It was almost like, okay, we've got 2 weapons left. We've got the orchid and whatever this thing is hiding in the almost cave-like goo at the top. So you send in the kid, you get the eye, the locked door, and you are sat there wondering, what is this going to be? It just created the tension that I'm not saying the show hadn't had any tension, but it felt like, okay, now we're going to get going. This is where it's going to be. This is going to lead to all of these things to go wrong. You know, it was just so good. It was also sad, but it's kind of what you want from the show, isn't it? Because it shows the innocence of these kids. Whilst it's an android, it's still a kid that's basically been killed at this point in time. They can't recover it. No, I don't know how many millions or billions it's going to cost, don't care, but there's a character there who didn't deserve to go, who did. In a series where a great many could probably deserve to go. And I just thought it was a superb way to really build up to a finale-esque route. What's the right term? Story perspective? I don't know. Absolutely. This has been one of the hardest videos in a while, you know.
It's a tough one. I mean, at the end,
this series is tough to talk about in a really polite way.
To put a bow on it, I think, like, there's, at the end of the day, obviously we've spoken about the themes and everything that Noah Hawley's tried to do across 8 episodes and all the directors and everyone who's involved, but people still turn up because it's Alien Earth. we know what we're going to get. There is going to be bloodbaths. There's going to be horror. Like the horror elements were so well done, and I think that's what people turned up for. That's what pushed it over the edge. And funny you just said about the sacrificial lamb as well, because I guess he actually did get sacrificed. I didn't
even clock that. I'm sorry.
That's why they're smarter than we are.
the poor lamb as well. Like it's like the cow in Jurassic Park. Like you're going to go at some point, and just I don't know. I know they do the Palm Dog at Cannes. There's a lamb award somewhere. Who knows? But it's just the fact it just sat there staring for like 2 episodes straight, terrifying. So cool at the same time, so creepy. And when the lamb eventually drops down and dies, you feel kind of bad. Like when the eye comes out of it, it's like it's found its new host, and you just feel really sorry. Like, and I guess obviously we don't know. Is there some consciousness going on when the eye's attached? Like they're the questions no one's going to know. Is it just puppeteering a dead body, or
like we'll see. Will Arthur be able to speak in season 2?
And that's I think that's one of the big questions. Was going to be, could the eye talk? And maybe because he's dead, the lamb can't. Sorry, the eye can't. Maybe then it will get attached. Who knows? We're prophesizing, but no, I think this has been a fun discussion. If I give my final thoughts on Alien Earth, as you can tell by the 1 hour chat, and not if I enjoyed it, I really recommend this show. I think this is a proper traditional science fiction show to show to people. It might not be for everybody, might not be for fans of Alien, but I think there's something in here for everyone, whether they know that or not. And I really recommend seeing it for that. And if you're really opposed to that, you've made it 1 hour in. I at least think you could show someone episode 5 in singularity, and they'd probably be like, I'm curious what the show is. Not that I'm ever going to tell someone to do that, but as you said, the third best Alien film exists with an Alien Earth, and I think that is something people will talk about for years to come, at least.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have anything else to wrap it up with. Check your water bottles before you drink, I guess.
Yes, let's put a new. Oh god, that was horrible when that happened. It's just the fact it was someone else that drank it as well made it even worse. But that's going to be us rounding up. So everybody that's been commenting, thank you all so much for your comments. We've been bringing them up, reading them out. If you're not watching it live, you're more than welcome to comment your thoughts. We'll reply to those as well. We always do on this. If you're a fan of Alien, you're not a fan of the show, we are curious to hear them, to find out more about them. If you want to find out whatever videos we're up to, get us on our social medias, linktree.com/CinemaWasabi. That'll put you through to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky. But Theo, this is the first I've had you on in quite a while, as we know. What have you been up to? Because there's a new review for a film we can find of yours that you saw last night.
Yes, I saw The Smashing Machine last night. The review's just gone live today. We Have a Hulk. So yeah, and I've got Chad Powers review coming out tomorrow as well. Obviously another Disney show. So yeah, there'll be a couple of those, and then hopefully a few more stuff. Just slowly getting back into it, I guess, after a bit of time away. I say away, I'm just lazy, but that's just life.
Nah, it's life, not laziness. Don't worry. Right. Again, thank you so much for jumping. It's lovely to get you back on. It's been a while. We have spoken about this for a while. I think I did message you ages ago. I need to get an Alien Earth. Like, let's do it. Let's get back on. Lovely. I really appreciate it. And everybody watching at home, thank you all so much. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Thanks.